In the year 2042, humanity reached a pivotal moment in its quest for knowledge. The advancements in artificial intelligence and space exploration technology had allowed researchers to scan the surface of the moon with unprecedented detail. Deep beneath the lunar regolith, a shadowy shape had caught the attention of Dr. Elara Lin, a leading astrophysicist. The structure was massive, sprawling across several kilometers, and it pulsed faintly with a glow that oscillated between blue and green. Elara and her team, composed of top scientists and engineers from around the globe, gathered in the control room of the lunar research station Luna 2. "Is this real?" whispered Jonah, a geologist, as he peered at the screen. "It looks like a city." Elara's heart raced. "It's not just a city, Jonah. This appears to be a base, an ancient one. We need to investigate further." They sent drones to the site, their cameras capturing images that left the team in awe and fear. Towering spires reached into the cold lunar sky, adorned with symbols that defied human comprehension. Some appeared to be constellations, while others resembled alien glyphs that danced across the surface like living entities. As the drones hovered closer, static filled the control room. The lights flickered, and the monitors momentarily lost their feed. When they restored the connection, the drones had moved on their own, zooming into the entrance of the structure. "What the hell?" shouted Sophia, the team's lead engineer. "They shouldn't be able to do that. I programmed them to maintain a distance." Elara's mind raced. Could there be some form of influence at play? An AI or a defense mechanism? The drones continued their descent, now hovering over a darkened entryway lined with eerie, glowing runes. Just then, the screens went black and a deafening silence filled the room. The team exchanged worried glances, each acutely aware of the palpable tension hanging in the air. "Let's send another drone in," Elara insisted, her voice steady despite the rising fear. "We need to know what we're dealing with." Moments later, another drone launched, equipped with enhanced night vision. As it glided into the entryway, the team held their breaths. The feed displayed a long corridor, its walls covered with the same glowing symbols. A deep, resonant hum pulsed from the depths of the structure, vibrating through the metal of the drone. Suddenly, the drone's camera focused on a massive chamber, revealing what appeared to be ancient machinery, surrounded by intricate designs that pulsed in time with the humming. "I don't like this," Jonah murmured, his unease palpable. "What if it's a weapon or a trap?" Just then, a burst of static interrupted their thoughts, followed by a high-pitched scream that echoed through the control room, originating from the drone. The screen flickered again, revealing distorted images of shapes moving rapidly within the chamber. Shadows flickered against the walls, too fast to comprehend. "Shut it down! Shut it down!" Elara shouted, panic rising in her throat. But it was too late. The drone's feed abruptly cut off, plunging the control room into darkness once more. "Power's gone!" Sophia exclaimed, frantically typing commands into her console. Elara took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain calm. "Get backup power online. We need to restore that feed." As they scrambled to regain control, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room just as a loud thud resonated from outside the station. The sound reverberated through the metallic walls, and the ground beneath them trembled. "What was that?" Jonah's voice quivered. Elara turned to the monitors, frantically searching for answers, but instead of the lunar landscape, they were met with a video feed from one of the station's external cameras. The view was obscured by a swirling cloud of dust, illuminated by an ominous green glow. "It's coming from the base," Elara realized, her heart racing. "We need to evacuate." Before she could finish, the lights dimmed once again, and a deafening alarm blared throughout the station. "Evacuate? Are you crazy?" Sophia yelled over the sirens. "We can't leave. We need to understand what we've found." "We don't have time for this," Elara shouted back, her voice laced with urgency. "Whatever is happening outside could be a direct threat to us. We need to get to the escape pods." Jonah hesitated, staring at the flickering screens. But if we leave, we might never learn what this place really is. We could be on the brink of a discovery that changes everything. Or we could be unleashing something that could end us all, Elara countered, the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders. The room was filled with chaos as scientists hurried to prepare for evacuation while others lingered, torn between their curiosity and instinct for survival. The alarms blared louder, resonating through the metal structure as shadows danced just outside the windows. "Dr. Lin!" a voice called from the control panel. It was Carlos, the team's tech specialist. "I managed to retrieve the last few moments of the drone's feed. You need to see this." Elara rushed to his station, heart pounding. The monitor flickered to life, revealing the interior of the ancient alien base once more. The chamber was filled with alien machinery, each piece intricately designed and pulsating with energy. In the center of the room, a dark silhouette materialized, shifting between the shadows. The figure was tall and thin, with elongated limbs and a head devoid of facial features, save for a single glowing eye that appeared to pulse with the same rhythm as the machinery. The drone captured a series of images before it malfunctioned, static filling the screen once again. "What the hell is that?" Jonah whispered, eyes wide in terror. "I don't know," Elara replied, dread pooling in her stomach, "but it looks alive." Suddenly, the control room shook violently and the lights flickered again. Dust fell from the ceiling as the alarms blared louder and the monitors went dark. "Get to the escape pods," Elara shouted, feeling the ground tremble beneath her. The urgency in her voice spurred everyone into action, and the team raced towards the exit, their hearts pounding in unison. As they ran, the air around them grew colder, and a low hum reverberated through the walls. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, and whispers echoed, incomprehensible, yet haunting. It felt as if the very structure of the lunar base was alive, watching, waiting. Finally, they reached the escape pod bay, their breaths ragged and hearts racing. The door hissed open and they scrambled inside, fingers trembling as they activated the controls. As the pod sealed shut, Elara glanced back at the station, now bathed in an eerie green glow. "What have we awakened?" she whispered, dread settling in her bones. The escape pod rocketed away from the lunar base, its thrusters roaring to life, propelling them into the void of space. Inside, the team remained silent, each lost in their thoughts as they hurtled away from the unknown threat. Elara stared out the small viewport, the distant Earth glowing blue against the vastness of space. "We have to warn them," she said, her voice breaking the silence. "We have to tell Earth what we found." Jonah nodded, his face pale. "But what if they don't believe us? What if they think we're just scientists losing our minds out here?" "We can't think like that," Elara insisted, determination flickering in her eyes. "We need to share what we've seen. It's our only chance." Sophia furiously typed on her console, trying to establish a communication link with Luna 2. "I'm trying to reach base control, but the signals are scrambled. It's like something is blocking our communication." The tension in the pod rose as they waited, the hum of the engines the only sound filling the void. Then a flicker of static appeared on the screen, followed by the face of Commander Harris, the head of the lunar program. "Luna 2, report status. What's going on?" he demanded, his brow furrowed with concern. "Commander, we encountered something alive at the ancient base," Elara began, her heart racing as she recalled the silhouette. "We don't know what it is, but it was connected to the machinery, and it seems..." Suddenly, the feed cut out, replaced by static. The team exchanged worried glances, the weight of their discovery settling heavily on their shoulders. "It's happening again," Sophia said, her fingers racing across the console in desperation. "The signal's being blocked. We need to find another way to communicate with Earth." "Maybe we can use the pod's emergency beacon," Jonah suggested. "It might cut through whatever interference is out there." Elara nodded, urgency propelling her. Do it. We need to send a warning before it's too late. As Sophia worked to activate the beacon, Elara's mind raced. What had they stumbled upon? What ancient secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of the moon? And why did it feel like they were being hunted? Moments later, the pod shuddered violently, throwing them against the walls. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered as the emergency beacon sputtered to life. Mayday, Mayday, this is Dr. Elara Lin of Luna 2. We've encountered an ancient alien base. There's something inside. It's a threat to Earth. Please respond. Her voice cracked as she shouted into the void. The response was chilling silence. Just then the screen flickered and a new image appeared. It wasn't the commander's face, but rather a dark figure shrouded in shadows standing in front of a wall, covered in those haunting alien symbols. The glowing eyes shone bright, piercing through the darkness as it seemed to stare directly at them. "It's watching us," Jonah whispered, terror flooding his voice. Sophia's fingers trembled as she attempted to regain control of the pod. "We need to move. Whatever that is, it might be trying to track us." With adrenaline surging through her veins, Elara pushed herself toward the control panel. "Sophia, can you override the navigation system? We need to get away from the base and back to Earth." "I'm trying, but the systems are glitching," Sophia cried out, frustration evident in her voice. The alarms blared louder, drowning out their words as the pod shook violently once more. "Brace yourselves," Elara shouted as she felt the pod dip, losing altitude. The instruments displayed critical warnings, and the walls rattled as if the ancient base had unleashed something. "Can't we just use manual controls?" Jonah asked, panic rising. Sophia's fingers danced across the screen. "Yes, but if I disengage the autopilot, we'll be flying blind. We won't know where we're headed." "Anything is better than staying here," Elara yelled, fear bubbling up within her. The looming darkness outside felt increasingly menacing. "Okay, switching to manual control now," Sophia replied, her voice steady, despite the chaos. As she flipped the switch, the alarms quieted, replaced by the whir of the engines, adjusting to the new mode. The pod jolted as they experienced a sudden acceleration, the Earth's blue orb growing larger in the viewport. The tension in the air was palpable, but the danger felt ever present. "Look!" Jonah shouted, pointing toward the monitor. "The ancient base is firing something. It's..." A blinding flash erupted from the moon's surface, a beam of light shooting toward their pod. Time slowed as they braced for impact, and the beam struck them with a force that rattled every bone in their bodies. "Hold on!" Sophia screamed as she wrestled with the controls, desperately trying to stabilize the pod. The light enveloped them, and for a moment, they were frozen in place, suspended between reality and the unknown. Elara felt a strange sensation wash over her, a melding of fear and awe. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the light faded, and they were thrust back into the chaos of their escape. The pod spiraled out of control, careening towards the blackness of space, the monitors flashing with warnings. "We're losing power," Sophia cried. "I can't get a grip on the controls." "Steady, Sophia. You can do this," Elara urged, her heart pounding in her chest. "Focus on stabilizing the pod. We just need to get back to Earth." "I'm trying," Sophia shouted, her hands trembling as she fought to regain control. Suddenly, the darkness outside the viewport flickered with movement. Shadows darted past, shapes that twisted and turned in the void. Elara's breath caught in her throat as the realization set in. Whatever they had awakened was now pursuing them. "It's following us!" Jonah shouted, eyes wide with terror. "What the hell is that thing?" Elara's mind raced. "It must have some way to track us through space. We need to outsmart it." The shadows outside the pod shifted rapidly, forming into grotesque shapes that seemed to stretch and warp as they chased the pod through the vast emptiness. Elara's instincts kicked in, as she recalled tales of ancient myths about the Watchers, beings that roam the cosmos, seeking knowledge, or perhaps something far more sinister. "Can you get a read on it, Sophia?" Elara asked, determination flooding her voice. Sophia's fingers flew over the controls, sweat beading on her forehead. "Not yet. It's too fast. I can't lock onto its trajectory." "Then let's create a distraction," Elara suggested, her mind whirling with possibilities. "We need to make it think we're going one way while we veer off course." "How do we do that?" Jonah asked, fear lacing his voice. "We'll use the emergency beacon to emit a burst of energy," Elara said, formulating a plan. "We can override the pod systems to make it appear we're still on course while we angle toward the nearest lunar orbit. If we time it right, we might just lose it." Sophia nodded, adrenaline coursing through her. "Let's do it. We only have one shot at this." As Sophia began reprogramming the systems, Elara monitored the outside feed, watching as the dark figure, now fully formed, hovered ominously behind them. It resembled the silhouette they had seen in the base, an ethereal being with elongated limbs and an eye that glowed with an otherworldly intensity. "Now," Elara shouted as the figure surged forward. "Send out the pulse." Sophia hit the button, and the pod erupted with a brilliant flash of energy, sending a wave of light spiraling into space. "Go, go, go," Elara urged as she redirected their path towards the moon, praying their ruse would work. The shadow paused, seemingly mesmerized by the beacon's light, and for a moment it veered off course, but then it shifted, redirecting its focus back toward them. The chase resumed, and the pod trembled under the pressure as it dove into the moon's orbit. "We're running out of time," Jonah shouted. "It's gaining on us." Sophia's fingers danced over the controls, sweat drenching her shirt as she fought against the overwhelming fear. "Hold tight. I'm about to engage the emergency thrusters." With a violent jolt, the pod surged forward, narrowly escaping the dark figure as it hurtled through the lunar landscape. Dust clouds erupted around them, and the pod rattled violently as it skimmed the surface. "Is it still behind us?" Elara shouted, fear threading her voice. "Checking," Sophia replied, her heart racing as she adjusted the monitors. They were in a precarious game of cat and mouse, dodging craters and ancient ridges while the spectre loomed just behind them. "Whatever that thing is, it's not letting us go," Jonah exclaimed. "We need to find shelter, something that can protect us." "Look," Elara shouted, pointing towards a large crater ahead. "We can hide there. It might give us enough cover." Sophia nodded, her determination reignited. "I'll steer us into it. Hang on." As they plunged into the crater, the pod trembled under the force of their entry, slamming down hard. Dust and debris erupted around them, and the alarms quieted momentarily as they hit the ground. "Shut down the engines," Elara ordered, her heart pounding in her chest. "We need to stay quiet." Sophia quickly turned off the pod systems, and the three of them sat in tense silence, hearts racing as they listened for any sign of the creature. Outside, the eerie quiet enveloped them, broken only by the soft echo of their breathing. "Did we lose it?" Jonah whispered, peering out the viewport into the darkness. Elara didn't respond, her mind racing with questions. What had they uncovered? Was that thing a guardian of the base, or was it something much more sinister? Suddenly, a shadow passed over the entrance of the crater, and a chill ran down Elara's spine. "It's here," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. Sophia's eyes widened in fear as she clenched her fists. "What do we do? It knows we're here." Elara took a deep breath, her scientific mind working against the tide of fear. "We need to find a way to communicate with it. If it's connected to the base, maybe we can reason with it." "You're insane," Jonah snapped. "That thing is hunting us. It's not going to listen." "All right." "I know it sounds crazy, but what if there's a way to understand its purpose?" Elara replied, her determination solidifying. "We've come this far. We can't let fear guide our decisions now." The shadows outside shifted again, and Elara knew they had little time. "I'm going to try something. Sophia, keep an eye on the controls. If it gets too close, we need to be ready to escape." "What are you planning?" Sophia asked, concern etched on her face. "I'll attempt to reach out mentally," Elara said, her heart pounding as she felt a surge of hope. "I believe it may have some form of consciousness." With that, she closed her eyes, focusing on the strange energy that pulsed through the ancient base. Images flooded her mind, memories of the technology, the symbols, and the shadowy figure. As she reached out, she felt a connection form, a bridge between her mind and whatever presence lurked outside. "Show yourself," she whispered, her heart racing. "We mean no harm, we seek understanding." The air grew colder, and a deep hum vibrated through the walls of the crater. The vibrations intensified, resonating through Elara's very being as she waited, breath held, for a response. Suddenly, she felt an overwhelming wave of emotions wash over her. Curiosity, fear, and a profound sense of loneliness. "Can you hear me?" Elara focused, her thoughts reaching out into the darkness. "We're not your enemies, we're explorers." In her mind, a voice echoed, low and resonant, speaking a language that transcended words. Images flooded her consciousness, memories of the base, of an ancient civilization that had once thrived among the stars, and of a catastrophic event that had led to its demise. Elara gasped as the images became clearer, a race of beings who had sought knowledge, expanding their reach across galaxies, only to awaken a power that consumed them. "We are not like you," the voice echoed in her mind, a reflection of both sadness and rage. "You disturbed the sleeping past." Jonah shifted nervously, glancing out the viewport. "Elara, what's happening? You're scaring me." "Quiet," she hissed, focusing on the connection. "I'm trying to understand." The presence pulsed in response, and Elara could feel its hesitation, a complex tapestry of emotions, woven together: fear, sorrow, and a protective instinct. "What do you want?" Elara whispered, sensing the weight of the creature's purpose. To her shock, the voice returned, filling her mind with visions of destruction. "The knowledge you seek is not for your kind. It has the power to create and destroy. You must leave this place." "But we can help," Elara protested. "We can ensure it never harms anyone again." "Your kind has always sought power without understanding," the voice replied, echoing with ancient wisdom. "You cannot contain what you do not comprehend. Leave while you still can." The shadows outside the pod writhed, and Elara felt a surge of urgency. "We need to warn Earth," she shouted, breaking the connection as fear clawed at her. "What did it say?" Jonah asked, his eyes wide with worry. It wants us to leave. It's scared of what we might unleash," Elara said, trembling as she considered the implications. "Then we have to go," Sophia urged, glancing at the controls. "We can't stay here any longer. Whatever that thing is, it's not going to just let us leave." But before Elara could respond, a deafening crash echoed from above, shaking the crater as dust and debris fell from the walls. The shadow outside the pod shifted violently, growing larger as it loomed closer. "It's trying to break in," Jonah shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Get ready," Elara commanded, her heart racing as she braced for impact. "If it gets inside, we need to fight back." The pod trembled again, and the shadows outside began to coalesce into a humanoid figure. Elara felt a rush of adrenaline as she prepared to confront the unknown threat, but her mind was filled with uncertainty. The pod shook violently as the figure hovered just outside, its glowing eye piercing through the darkness. Elara's heart raced as she faced the alien presence, a mix of terror and curiosity coursing through her veins. "Stay back," she shouted, raising her arms instinctively. We mean you no harm." The shadows coalesced into a more defined shape, and the creature's features became clearer. A tall, gaunt figure with elongated limbs, surrounded by a halo of shifting energy. The atmosphere inside the pod thickened with tension, and Elara could feel the creature's intent pressing against her. "Your presence disrupts the balance," the voice echoed in her mind again, resonating with urgency. "You cannot comprehend the consequences of your actions." "What consequences?" Elara shouted, fear and defiance surging through her. "We only wanted to understand. We didn't know we were disturbing anything." The figure seemed to flicker, a brief moment of uncertainty in its movement. "Knowledge can be a burden," it said, its voice low and haunting. "It can twist the hearts of men, leading them to destruction." "Then let us help," Elara pleaded, her heart racing. "We can protect what's left. We can make sure it never harms anyone again." The creature hesitated, its eye dimming slightly. "You are not the first to seek knowledge, and you will not be the last. But what you pursue may lead to your undoing." "Please," Elara pressed, feeling the weight of her words. "We can coexist. We have to warn Earth. We can't let this power fall into the wrong hands." The figure drew closer, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. "You do not understand the nature of the power you seek. It is a force that binds and breaks worlds. It cannot be tamed." The shadows around them swirled, and Elara's heart sank as the weight of the truth pressed down on her. "Then what can we do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Leave this place," it urged, the energy surrounding it pulsing with intensity. "Return to your world and warn others. But know this, the knowledge you seek will find you again. It is inevitable." "Will you let us go?" Jonah asked, his voice shaky with fear. The creature paused, its eye flickering with uncertainty. "I cannot control the past, but I can allow you to escape. However, you will not forget. You will carry this burden for as long as you live." With that, the shadows twisted around the pod, and a blinding light enveloped them. Elara closed her eyes against the brilliance, feeling the pull of the unknown washing over her like a wave. The blinding light enveloped the pod, and Elara felt a rush of energy surging through her, as if the very essence of the alien base was intertwining with her consciousness. She gasped, feeling disoriented as the shadows began to dissipate, and she realized they were being propelled away from the moon. "Hold on," Sophia shouted, gripping the controls as the pod surged forward. The vibrations shook the structure as they hurtled through the void of space. The blinding light dimmed, and as Elara opened her eyes, she found herself staring at the blue orb of Earth, now growing larger in the viewport. They were breaking free from the lunar pull, escaping the nightmare that had unfolded. "Did we make it?" Jonah asked, his voice trembling with disbelief. Elara felt a mix of relief and dread wash over her. "I think so, but it's not over. We still have to warn Earth." As they neared the planet, the pod systems began to stabilize, and Sophia quickly began re-establishing communication with Mission Control. "I'm connecting to the emergency channel now," she said, her fingers flying over the console. Elara watched as the Earth's surface spun beneath them, the vibrant blues and greens now a stark reminder of the fragility of their existence. "Luna 2, do you copy?" A voice crackled through the static, Commander Harris's voice filled with urgency. "What's your status? We lost contact with you." "This is Dr. Elara Lin. We encountered an ancient alien base on the moon," Elara shouted, urgency lacing her words. "You have to listen. It's not just a discovery, it's a warning." "Ancient alien base?" Harris's voice was incredulous. "What are you talking about? Where are you now?" Elara glanced at Jonah and Sophia, their faces etched with fear and determination. "We're returning to Earth, but we need to initiate lockdown procedures immediately. That base is a threat. We awakened something." Static crackled through the speakers, and Elara could feel the tension in the air as they awaited a response. "Dr. Lin, Please clarify. What kind of threat? It's, Elara began, but suddenly the pod jolted violently, the controls flashing red as alarms blared. What now? Sophia shouted, panic rising. Something is destabilizing, Elara yelled, gripping the sides of her seat. We need to regain control. The lights flickered, and the screens displayed a haunting image, a dark silhouette hovering outside the pod, its glowing eye piercing through the glass. It followed us, Jonah whispered, horror evident in his voice. As the figure loomed closer, Elara's heart raced. The voice echoed in her mind again, filling her with dread. You cannot escape your fate. No, Elara shouted, her voice rising in defiance. We're not here to harm you. We want to understand. The figure flickered, its form twisting in the vacuum of space. Understanding is a veil. It masks the truth. You have unleashed forces that cannot be contained. Let us help, Elara pleaded, desperation lacing her words. We can warn others. We can ensure this power does not fall into the wrong hands. The figure hesitated, its eye dimming slightly. Your intentions are noble, but they are futile. The knowledge you seek will only lead to destruction. The pod trembled as the shadows danced around them, and Elara felt the weight of the creature's warning pressing against her. What do we have to do? She asked, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. Return to your world, but know this, the knowledge you seek is now a part of you. It will shape your future, and your actions will determine the fate of your kind. With that, the shadows erupted into a blinding light, enveloping the pod once more. Elara closed her eyes, feeling the pull of the unknown wash over her, and she held onto her friends tightly. Suddenly the light faded, and they found themselves back on a familiar path. The earth loomed before them, vibrant and alive, but the sense of foreboding lingered in the air. We're back, Jonah exclaimed, relief flooding his voice. We made it. But Elara knew the truth. They had not escaped unscathed. The weight of their encounter pressed heavily on her mind, a constant reminder of the secrets that lay beneath the surface of the moon. As they approached the landing site, Elara felt a mixture of dread and determination. The knowledge they had uncovered was now entwined with their fate, and they would carry its burden forever. The pod touched down on the surface, the familiar vibrations of Earth grounding them back in reality. Elara unbuckled her seatbelt, her heart racing as she glanced at Sophia and Jonah. Are you both okay? She asked, her voice trembling. We're alive, Jonah replied, the weight of their experience evident in his eyes. But what now? Elara took a deep breath, her mind swirling with thoughts. We need to warn everyone. We have to make sure that what we encountered is kept safe. It can't fall into the wrong hands. As they exited the pod, the familiar sights and sounds of Earth enveloped them, but a sense of unease lingered in the air. In the distance, a black helicopter hovered above the landing site, its ominous presence sending shivers down Elara's spine. What's that? Sophia asked, squinting against the sunlight. Looks like we're not the only ones interested in what we found, Elara murmured, her heart sinking as she realized the implications. Are they here for us? Jonah asked, his voice filled with fear. I don't know, Elara replied, determination igniting within her, but we can't let them take what we discovered. As they walked towards the helicopter, Elara felt a surge of resolve. They had faced the unknown and emerged stronger. Together, they would protect the secrets of the ancient base and ensure that knowledge would not bring destruction to their world. Let's go, she said, her voice steady. We have a lot to do. And with that, they stepped into the future, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to ensure that history would not repeat itself.